Good evening and welcome to the live stream tonight. It is the first official Sunday in February, month of Aquarius. I'm Robert Phoenix. It's been about 2 weeks since we got together here. How is everybody? I've been incredibly sick, uh, ill, ill for the last month. Really, it's been very intense, and it's been pretty difficult to be productive and stay in the flow. But it looks like I finally ditched whatever this thing that I have had and everybody else has had. I mean, it's been a pretty rough month for a lot of people physically. I've run into so many people that have had strep throat, um, the really bad upper respiratory stuff. It really feels like we're dealing with mycoplasmic material in the lungs. It's has not been enjoyable. And again, the symptoms are pretty similar across the board. I also have had what they call cedar fever here in Austin, and excuse me, and that's been stacked on top of this other stuff. And then, of course, some of you know that I was actually hospitalized about 2 weeks ago. Actually, it's going on 3 weeks ago now for extremely high blood pressure. So it's been a very intense 3 to 4 weeks for me at the start of the new year. But I'm back on top of things, and I've finally kicked all these other nasty bugs, and just looking forward to being productive now with the material, the content, the 15 minutes of flame, more writing. So this is the plan here for 2017. Well, welcome to the live stream. I hope everybody had an enjoyable weekend as I play hot potato with my cat. Man, she's insecure. She's really insecure. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing okay. Tonight we had a big football game, the Super Bowl. I'm actually going to talk about Lady Gaga's chart. Listen, I'm going to give you some charts to look up so you can play along at home. Okay? All right, here's the charts we're going to look up tonight. We're going to look at the lunar eclipse chart. And that's going to be for this coming Saturday. It's at 12:43 a.m. on Saturday. So the lunar eclipse is going to happen very early Saturday morning. So when you go to bed, if you go to bed on Friday night, you're going to miss the eclipse. 12:43 Universal Time. I've got it set for Washington, D.C. It is a penumbral eclipse. You can go punch that in to astrodeans.com. We'll be looking at that. I also pulled together, I've been really fascinated with this dance between Donald Trump and Israel and what's going on. And because he's loaded his cabinet and his backers with very heavy hitters from Israel, the banking industry, New York City. I mean, he's just loaded the team. So, and there's been a lot of, intense stuff going on. He's saber rattling against Iran, which I think is a huge mistake. They did a raid in Yemen, and they got an American killed in Yemen. I don't know what I'm not sure what we're doing over there. Apparently, we did the raid with some soldiers from the United Arab Emirates. Navy SEALs. Guy that got killed was a Navy SEAL. Ironically, the guy looked a little bit like Tom Brady. It was very strange. Anyway, so we've got that going on with saber rattling, big saber rattling with Iran. It's a huge mistake. Huge mistake. Iran has not been in any really significant conflict with anyone outside of their region for quite a while. They had something going on with Iraq, back in the 80s, and that's when the United States armed our buddy Saddam Hussein and built up their navy and all that stuff. So, because Iran is, you can get to Iran via the ocean. It's true. The Gulf. So Iran, other than that conflict with Iraq has not been in a significant war since 1775. This is a country that does not go to war, and they have been preparing for war against the U.S. or Israel, whomever decides to go around. They've been preparing for this for the last 30 years. They know it's a distinct possibility, so they've got things set up. It's a really ridiculous idea, totally ridiculous idea to go after Iran. Of course, Trump wasted no time. Well, why is he doing this? This is a guy that said that he would have, he'd get us out of Syria, he would get us out of the Middle East. He wouldn't even be there. I mean, that was his clarion call, and we're all listening to this. Oh, this is great. This is great. Yeah, fantastic stuff. Oh, yeah, and you don't want to fight Russia. Well, what it looks like he did is he dialed down the rhetoric towards Russia, although Nikki Haley shot her mouth off the other day. Did you know that Nikki Haley and Kellyanne Conway have the same birthday? Look it up. It's true. January 20th. Both of them had their birthday on the day that Trump was inaugurated. Isn't that very Trump-like? They'd have two people born on the same day, January 20th. Being the uber Gemini that he is. Anyway, I don't think it's a great idea to go after Iran, and there's only really one purpose to go after Iran. And that's a country in the Middle East that doesn't like Iran because it really wants to have more available land. So, then there was this piece that said Trump came out and said, no new houses, no new settlements. It didn't really quite say that. It was close to saying that. But you're never going to know with this administration because they may say things just like any other administration, which on the surface may say, oh, wow, great, Trump. Oh, yeah, he's pushing back in Israel. Okay? But that might not be the case at all. It just might be lip service. So we're going to see here in the next 100 days what's really going to go down. So you want to keep your eye on this Iran conflict, potentially. So what I did is I took Donald Trump's chart, and you can go find it. It's easy. I'll give you the coordinates to all this stuff. But you can get Donald Trump's chart. And then I did Israel's chart, and I did a synastry chart for Donald Trump and Israel. And the results are surprising, and yet they're not. They're actually, how should we say this, fairly consistent. And the other chart that I wanted to look at tonight was Lady Gaga's chart. How about that? So let me give you something. Now, the Lady Gaga chart is a little bit more difficult than some of the other charts because there are two birth times associated with it. Okay, so we have, which one is this one? Let's see. Who is this? So I'm going to give you some of these dates and times. Come on now. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Sometimes my, all right. All right, so the lunar eclipse, again, that's happening on the 11th, Saturday, 12:43 a.m. And I put it for Washington, D.C. You can put it wherever you want. That was my choice. But, the moon is going to be right at 12 midnight, right? So, hold on. Let's see what else we have here. As he moves around his desktop, deftly clicking on images, left, right, left. Okay, so the chart for Israel is May 14th, 1948, Tel Aviv at 4 p.m. You're going to get Libra rising, Sun in Taurus, True No Taurus, a whole bevy of planets in the 8th house. I'm sorry, in Leo. And then Trump, of course, is the 14th of June, and that's at 10:54 a.m. in Jamaica, New York. Now, if you go to Astro Dienst, there are two charts for Lady Gaga. I should pull these up and really pull them off the screen here. One is a double D rating, No, that has nothing to do with their performance tonight, which was so white bread. Although there was some esoteric symbolism in there. That's right. So Lois Roden's chart for Lady Gaga. This is one you can do both. March 28th. We know she's an Aries. March 28th, and she's got Venus in Aries and Trudeau in Taurus. March 28th, 1986, 9:53 a.m. That's in Manhattan, New York. Now, there's another chart, and she got this from a tweet, birthday time tweet. And hold on, let me get this other chart here. It's the same date. It's March 28th, 1986, Manhattan. But this one is at 2 a.m. 2 a.m. And in this chart, she is a Capricorn rising. In the other chart, the double D chart, she is a Gemini rising. And this one has Moon Pluto on the midheaven. You know, this one actually might be a better fit in some ways. Even though I'd love for her ascendant to be Gemini, Capricorn might actually be a better fit. Jupiter, Mercury, Sun ingressing to the third, Jupiter, Mercury in the second. So those are going to be the charts we're going to look at tonight. We're going to look at the eclipse chart. We're going to look at once you get, remember you do all this in Astrodienst, once you get Trump's chart and Israel's chart, we can do a synastry chart, which is what I did. I pulled the synastry chart. And we'll look at both Lady Gaga charts to see if we can get some kind of fix on, where she is, because it really feels like she's made a pivot in some ways. Certainly a career pivot. Is it a personal pivot? We'll see. So those are the charts we're going to be working on tonight. If you want to play at home, you can go get them. Okay. Let's get into today's planets and the planets for the week ahead, just so we can get a sense as to where we are with all this celestial stuff. There's a lot going on energetically. There's so much. And it's not just where these planets are, but the Schumann frequency, the resonance has come up. I think a lot of people are processing things at an extremely accelerated rate. And then when you've got this kind of chaos generator, this Tasmanian devil in the White House, it's accelerating things. It's totally accelerating. So let's get into the planets today. The sun is in Aquarius at 17 degrees. And I find it really interesting because Tom Brady, who is the winner of the Super Bowl tonight in an epic comeback, happens to be a Leo. So, and he does so incredibly well during the Super Bowl. Let me see if I can get Brady's chart up here too. Yeah, I mean, because there would be some validity to saying when the sun is in the opposite sign of your sign, it's not the greatest time, because you're dealing with energy that's pulling away from your kind of natal locus. Okay. So, and I've experienced this when I've been in when it's been March, and I've had to deal with a lot of Pisces energy. Of course, I've got my South Node in Pisces, so that might have something to do with it. But we're going to look at Brady's chart. I just want to pull it up here really quickly. Hold on. Tom Brady's astrological chart. It's another interesting aspect of Donald Trump and his presidency with the Sun-Uranus conjunction. It's not just the dualistic nature of Trump, but what he's done and the social atom that he's split between the right and the left. How many people have lost friends over this election. It's been pretty significant. It's really significant. And I don't think a lot of those friendships are coming back. I mean, friendships that have lasted decades where people have kind of put up with each other, tolerated each other, hung out with each other on, maybe more esoteric and not political points, or more personal, not political points. But Trump has been the socio-political atom smasher, and has completely split the country in a lot of ways. It's been challenging. Now it's like you've got to, be cautious about, again, who you talk about and how you talk about it, and the why is really not relevant. So let's go into Tom Brady's chart, and I just want to get an overview. Now this one is on astro theme, and we may not have a birth time. A lot of times astro theme doesn't have birth times. At least Lois Roden tries to, it's 11:48 a.m. There we go. Okay, now one of the things that's interesting about Brady's chart is he's got a Sun-Saturn conjunction. He's got Sun-Saturn in the 11th house. And, the 11th house, the more that I get into the 11th house really is more than just groups and organizations and friends and networks and hopes and dreams and wishes and the internet. One of the other things that the 11th house is connected to are teams, because a team is a group, right? So a team sport is a group. So he's got Sun and in Leo and Saturn in Leo conjunct 8 degrees. Now that Sun-Saturn conjunction is a big one, because Tom Brady's 39 years old, and he just set a record for the most yards passed in a Super Bowl game in history. He's won his 5th Super Bowl. He is incredibly devoted to alternative nutrition, alternative means of staying in shape and longevity. I mean, he looks like he's 39. He looks like he's around 30 years old. He's never been in better physical shape. I had a slice of pizza tonight, and after watching Tom Brady, I felt incredibly guilty. But it's that Sun-Saturn conjunction. Now, if you look at, he's got a grand trine. More than the grand trine, he's got a kite pattern. He has Moon in Aries, which is in the 6th house. 6th house, Moon in Aries, he'll get after it every single day, which is the nature of the 6th house. You do it every day, every day, every day. And he's got a trine to Saturn, 6 degrees, orb, 13 to 19, and a trine with the sun. It's a 2-degree orb. And then that Neptune is in trine, very wide, but still in trine, 7 degrees, not as bad, with the Moon in Aries. So he's got a grand trine fire. And Neptune is a fascinating planet to be in this mix, because what does Neptune have to do with sport? Well, first of all, it's in Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, to me, is connected to the big sports, the big game out in the open field, not the parlor sports like pool or ping pong or pinochle. Anybody out there play pinochle? Who plays pinochle these days? I'd like to learn pinochle. I'd like to learn it just so I can say it. Hey, want to play some pinochle? I wonder if there's a pinochle app on Facebook. I play too much Facebook poker, and I've been sucking lately. Wow, what's that about? It must be Saturn on my Jupiter. That's what it is. Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. Hard luck, baby. So Neptune here, to me, in the second house, we look at Neptune in the second house. Traditionally, how do you read that? Well, first of all, I look at it from a place of money, values. It is the root chakra of the chart, and you can find out what somebody really values by what they have in the second house. Some people, I've told this story to a number of my students. My father didn't have more than a 10th grade education. Jupiter in the second house, all about possessions, money, not even money, just possessions. He had things, major things. Never made more than $40,000 a year. Mercedes, Cadillac, boats, BMW motorcycles, you name it. He had it. So to me, the second house is about stuff, but it's also about metals and all those, the earth, and all those really basic fundamental values. So, and I tell this to my students when I work with them: if you do not master the second house, the rest of the chart really should. The rest of the chart cannot be fulfilled in a way where it's meant to be fulfilled. It just you've got it. The second house is like the foundation of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you have a child out there, and that child, is in a place where they're in your home and you're doing something with them, whether they're really young or they're in their tweens or teens, help them get through their second house. Help them master their second house. It's really important. My kid has Jupiter in the second house, thank God. Excuse me, I have to get rid of my other beast. Oh. So, but the mastery of the second house is so important. Because let's say you've got some really great aspects in other parts of the chart, more abstract aspects, and you can't attend to them because of what's going on with your second house. If you don't have the resources, you could have, so many other great pieces inside the chart that it doesn't really matter. So master that second house. Tom Brady's got Neptune down there. Neptune in the second house can mean a couple different things. Number one, in terms of resources, very fluid. Money in, money out. Money in, money out. Right? That's one definition of Neptune in the second house. Bless it, let it go. Bless it, let it go. Rise, fall. Rise, fall. In Sagittarius, and even to some extent, sort of the general definition of Neptune, it's not about material value, but spiritual value. Spiritual value. Neptune in Sagittarius, really spiritual value. And there's something here about intention. Something here about intention with this Neptune trine going on. It's a grand trine. The intention to the moon, right? It's like that fiery Aries every day. Michael Strahan talked about Tom Brady today, told the story. He said it was a few years ago. They were at a party. It was in March or April. And there were about 4 or 5 couples sitting around, and most of the couples were having drinks. Brady wasn't having any. He was drinking water. And Strahan said, how come you're not drinking? He said, I'm training. And for most players, that's 2 months, one or 2 months removed from the season. A lot of players then would get into training mode until maybe May. They'll give themselves a few months off, try to heal their body up. No, not Tom Brady. You see, that's Moon in the sixth house in Aries, and operating in this grand trine, this grand fire trine. And I believe that Neptune powers the Moon in a way where, especially with an Aries moon, we're talking about desire, right? The desire to win. Aries, the sign of the warrior. Neptune, a foundational, fundamental place inside the chart. Now, the other thing that good old Tom has here is he has Uranus in Scorpio. And let me just see. Hold on. Yeah, Uranus in Scorpio. First house. Yeah, it's the first house. That's right. Neptune is in the second. Yeah. So Uranus in Scorpio in the first house. Now that's also in a trine, and that's in a wide trine because Uranus. It's in the. Let's see. It's got trine with Venus. Uranus Venus trine. That's interesting. He's got Venus at 1 degree Cancer. It's just coming out of the 8th house. And it's in sextile with his moon. That's interesting. And then he's got a Venus Mercury sextile. He's got it square. I'm sorry. He's got it squared off. Apologize with his moon. That's right. Venus Moon square. Generally speaking, Venus Moon squares are not always the easiest for relations with the opposite sex, no matter, that's interesting. Especially for a man with Venus there. He might be a lot more sensitive than he lets on, He might be a lot more sensitive. The other thing with Tom Brady now, Pluto is getting ready to oppose his midheaven. That's very interesting. He's got his midheaven at 20 degrees Cancer, and Pluto is coming in. You know what's happening? His mother's been sick for the last 18 months. So that fourth house cusp is the mother right there. Yep. Transformation of the relationship with the mother and his roots. Capricorn. What else do we have? Pluto's over there in Libra in the 12th. Driven. Absolutely driven. Pluto, Mars trine. There you go. Mars in Gemini, 8th house. He's intense. He is freaking intense. And he's got that Libra rising. A good-looking Libra rising. And he's got his true node right on his ascendant. Exact. This guy is in. This is a fascinating true node, right? Because, number one, it's right on the ascendant. It's like, go to the true node. Get over there. Wherever it is in your chart, do your best to align with your true node every single day. You do that, and you got a better chance of moving through life successfully. So he's got it right on his ascendant. All he's got to do is be Tom Brady. But it's in the sign of Libra, which on the ascendant is a bit tricky. But he's getting kind of a double whammy with the ascendant and the true node over there. South node in Aries on the other side of the chart, right on the descendant. That's fascinating. Strong women. Gisele Bündchen's a strong woman. I mean, she's a model and everything. She's also German, and she's from Brazil, so she's of Aryan descent. Gisele Bündchen's birthday. Let's find that out. Sorry, I'm just having such a good time looking at Tom Brady's chart tonight. Bündchen. Gisele Bündchen. She's worth a lot of money. Between the two of them, man, that is a serious power couple. Am I right? Serious power couple. Oh, let's check out her sign. What is she? Oh, come on. This is the improvisational part of tonight's show, by the way. Gisele Bündchen, astrological astro theme. Let's just go there. Since we're already on astro theme, let's see what she's got. So she is born on 7/20/1980. Brady, 3 years her senior. Brady born in the year of the snake, of course. It's got that snake-like intensity. And that's how the Patriots played tonight. They just sort of coiled the Falcons. The Falcons were the mongoose, and tonight the Patriots were the boa constrictor, and the Falcons lost tonight. The mongoose lost. Okay, what does she have here? Let's just see. She's a Capricorn rising. That's interesting. So Pluto's been on her ascendant, and she has a sun at 28 degrees Cancer. Puts her sun up in Brady's 10th house. Mercury in Cancer, 15. Does she have anything in Aries? True node in Aries, 22 degrees. So I'm sorry, part of fortune. How about that? Her part of fortune is in Tom Brady's 7th house. Well, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? That makes a whole lot of sense. She also has her Black Moon Lilith in his 12th house. Her Mars is in Libra, right in her midheaven. That's interesting. That's an interesting place for Mars. Well, she married an athlete. She married Tom Brady. There you go. There's your Mars. And she has Venus in Gemini at 19 degrees. And Brady's, where's his? Let's see. That's not it. I just want to go. Where'd you go? Where'd you go, Astro Theme? Where'd you go? Okay. So Brady's Mars is at 11. 11. His part of fortune is in Gemini. Interesting. So his Mars is at 11, and her Venus is at 19. Wide conjunction, but still it's in there. 8 degrees, considered one of the better conjunctions for male-female connectivity. I mean, that's physical chemistry. You connect in with Mars, Venus, and got something going on there. Her moon is in Libra, Scorpio, 4 degrees, 4 degrees Scorpio. That puts her moon right in Tom Brady's first house. Of course, they both have Neptune and Sagittarius. It's generational. And her Saturn is at 23 Virgo, and Brady's Mercury is at, let's see, he's got Mercury at 8 Virgo. What does she have? She has something else at Virgo. Oh, and she has Jupiter at 9 Virgo. So they've got a Jupiter-Mercury conjunction. They're both health freaks. Both health freaks. And her sun is at 28 Cancer, which we mentioned before, and puts her sun just on the other side of his midheaven by 8 degrees. And she's got that Mars in Libra. He has Mars in Gemini. These are two extremely compatible Marses. Hers is at 5 Libra, and his is at 11 Gemini. So again, we're talking a fairly nice trine, fairly tight trine in there. But I would not be surprised if Tom Brady plays for a very long time. It's 39. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays for another 3 or 4 years with that Sun-Saturn conjunction and all of the advances in sports technology. I mean, wait till they bust out the nano machines. Man. One day, some guy, what's his name, Aubrey de Grey, or one of these, what do they call them? Immortalists. Peter Thiel come up to Tom Brady and say, Tom, I'd like to invite you to a very exclusive club. It's a club that will allow you to indulge in your physical fantasies and dreams of playing football far longer than anyone else ever has, and at a level that would allow you to compete as a man in his 30s. You think Brady would sit down and listen to that conversation? Absolutely. Tom, what we have is we have these small and very select group of people that are employing nanomachines inside their body to clean capillaries, veins, arterial support. Brady would be like, what? What are you talking about? But that's where it's going. That's where it's going. If somebody came along and told Tom Brady that they could do that, yeah, he might do that. He might actually do that. Anyway, he'll be around for a while. I think he'll play for at least another 3 or 4 years, unless he has an injury. But this opposition with Pluto to his midheaven is going to take a lot out. It's going to take a lot out of him. That's his mother. That's his roots. That's his home. She's been ill all year. Has not gone to any single game. Where's the moon? Well, the moon is at 13 degrees Gemini today. Does that favor Tom Brady? Let's just see here. Oh, how about that? Part of fortune, 12 degrees Gemini. He had the moon on his Mars. He had a moon on his Mars. And hold on, I just got an important tweet here. Let's just see. Hold on, this is my son's baseball team. We have to see what team he's on. Okay, hold on. What do we have here? Rosters have been posted. Decisions are made based on many factors. I'm reading this as I get it. The development of each player is taken into consideration. At-bats, innings pitched, attitude, effort. Okay, rosters will not be frozen until April 1st. Moves will be made if and when we feel necessary. So, what do we got? We got, or how do you get there? I'm sorry, I'm looking it up here. Hold on. Let's see what we have. Big link. All right, this is my kid. Let's see what team he's on. This is breaking news worldwide. I'm nervous to see what team he's on. Let's see. 13 red. I don't know who he is. I don't know who's on the team. Roster? Okay, here we go. Fingers crossed. Let's see what we got. Drew Reber, Cole Jefferson, Suleiman Khan, Jake Miller, Dylan Morencer. He did not make the 18. He will not be happy. He will not be happy. Not be happy. That's the way it goes. That is the way it goes. I don't think he hit the ball. Well, the good news is I get to hang out with the dads that I like. So, who's on the blue team? Let me see if I have a problem with the roster. Let's see who we got on the blue team. Okay, I don't. Yeah. I don't know. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. I'm not crazy about the roster. Let me see what we got here. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm digressing. Okay. All right. Well, I like the kids on this team. They're nice kids. They're nice kids. Well, here's what it is. I'm okay with it. Well, that means he won't be traveling this year. So be it. So let's get back into astrology. Hold on. Let me just do this one more thing here. Here we go. Life. So Tom Brady, getting back to Brady's chart. True node, and I'm sorry, part of fortune. He had part of fortune on his moon. How could he not win today? I mean, that makes total sense. Part of fortune on his moon, or transiting moon on his part of fortune, and transiting moon on his Mars. That's a big aspect. That is a really, so no wonder. I mean, see, I'm trying to understand, again, why this came about. Because I was trying to understand this opposition. Now, the sun currently is at, let's see, where's the sun? Back home here. Let's see, the sun is at 17 Aquarius. So again, in Brady's chart, it is Sun-Saturn opposition today. That's overcoming adversity. I mean, look, that game was a game that was two different games, right? Two different games. It's like Gemini. The first half where the Patriots did not play well, Brady did not play particularly well, and then there was the second half where the Patriots played incredibly well and Brady rallied the team, overcoming adversity. Now, if the sun is at 18, Aquarius, and his ascendant is at 17 Libra, and his true node is at 17 Libra, what does that mean? It means he's going to have a sun trine his ascendant, sun trine true node. If they play the Super Bowl every year with the sun at 17 Aquarius, Tom Brady's going to win 99% of the time. I mean, he's lost 2 games in the Super Bowl against the New York Giants. Interesting, huh? Well, that's Tom Brady's story. How about a few other stories? Let's go to the charts here. Find out what else we have going on today. Mercury's at 28 Capricorn and getting ready to transit into Aquarius over the course of the next couple days. So we're gonna have here we have about 13 more degrees of Aquarius Sun. Mercury's starting to catch up a bit. So we're gonna, this has been a revolutionary month. I mean, that is the nature of Aquarius, right? It's been a totally revolutionary month. Radical, across the board, right and left. We've got Venus. It's going to be interesting because we're in the final degrees here. I don't want to pass over this. Tomorrow is Mercury's going to be at 28, 29 soon. And it's on the anaretic degree. It's on the final degree. It's at that same degree of election night, where Mars was election night. And it passed into 0 Aquarius the next day. That 29th degree is all about, with Capricorn, with the Sabian symbol, 2930, it's all about doing deals. So the group of great men meet behind closed doors. Spiritually enlightened. Dane Rudiger cracks me up. I mean, I remember when there was a time when I actually thought this. There was a time when I thought that there were, quote unquote, enlightened, semi-enlightened beings that were communing with the brotherhood, the hierarchy. This is back in my Findhorn days. And that these guys, these people were so attuned and they were anchoring the light on the planet against the forces of darkness. I mean, frankly, I think it's a bunch of shit now. But it makes for a good story. I do think that there are people who are pretty turned on spiritually. But, I mean, my sense here is that when you get to a fairly high level as it relates to spirituality, I mean, it's through these orders, right? It's through either the Rosicrucians or through the Freemasons or through Skull and Bones, and to some degree they're practicing. Well, to some degree they're trying to achieve some level of spiritual attainment, but they're really practicing occult ritual and magic. That's exactly what they're practicing. So I think that. Sorry, I'm still my kid here. I think that this degree of the 29th degree Mercury is going to be interesting over the next couple of days. You could see some very big decisions, really big decisions, but you won't. Let me say this: the decisions will be made, but you won't see them for a while. You may not see them for a few more weeks or maybe a few more months. But I guarantee you some big decisions are going to be made here over the next couple of days, behind closed doors at 29:30 Capricorn. Okay, we've got Venus at 1 degree Aries and Mars at 6 degrees Aries. Ever since Mars went into Aries, all we're talking about is war. War, whether it's China and the South Sea, which is Steve Bannon's pet peeve. By the way, Bannon just keeps getting elevated. Now he's on the Security Council. Before he was just an advisor. Bannon's like Bannon is to Trump what Valerie Jarrett was to Obama. Okay, and Valerie Jarrett was never on the Security Council, although she probably sat in on any number of meetings. But Bannon now is getting involved in military strategy. Let's just do a little bit of a roll call here as to what happened this past week since Mars went into Aries. Okay. They went after China. Rex Tillerson went after China, right? Boom. Uh, Bannon was talking about China. China and these islands that they're building in the South Sea. Basically, take these sandbars and they're building them up and building them up and building them up, and they're turning them into essentially permanent aircraft carriers. Chinese are smart, putting missiles on there and everything. By the way, do you know what the Chinese did once they took over Tibet? They put missile silos. They put missile silos on Tibet. They have missile silos in the highest part of the planet, the highest part of the world. Now, I don't know if that means that those missiles can travel farther. I don't know. It sounds strategically, it sounds pretty interesting, though, doesn't it? To have missiles on the Tibetan plain. That's what they did. Anyway, they're doing this now in the South China Sea, and the United States doesn't like it. Quite frankly, I don't blame the United States, but I got to tell you, the decades worth of enabling since the Clintons were in China, boy, China's just gotten they've got more pumped up than a Tyson's chicken, pumped up on American dollars thanks to Walmart and all the trade secrets. So now all of a sudden now the Americans say, "Well, come on now, you've gotten too big, too strong." We could be at war with China. We could easily be at war with them, and China is ready. I mean, they've been just like Iran has been, putting together their strategy for the last 20 to 25 years, to deal with Israel and the United States and anybody else in the Middle East. China's been working on their thing for the last 50 years. They want to take over the West. Make no bones about it. So now we got an administration that wants to take on China, but they're not very subtle. These guys, they're just like bluster, So we have China. Oh, how about North Korea? Yeah, they're barking at North Korea. They're barking at Iran, and Iran fired a missile, which is within their right to do that. They tested an ICBM. It's like, hey, here you go. Psh, there's a missile. You want to. Iran is really doing everything they can in their power to dump the dollar, which means more excess dollars on the market. Okay, so barked at Iran, barked at China, they barked at North Korea. Guess who else they barked at? They barked at Russia. Russia. Nikki Haley is getting, in Russia's jock about their relationship with Ukraine, and Ukraine just keeps bombing the shit out of Crimea. I mean, the missiles and their mortars. They're firing mortars and cannons into Crimea, and they're bombing. They're just knocking the shit out of Crimea. And Putin, the strength that Putin has is remarkable, I have to say. But here's Nikki Haley basically, doing a Victoria Nuland and getting on Russia. So since Mars has been in Aries, mild aggression towards Russia, outward aggression towards Iran, and a lot of it coming from Trump, aggression towards China, and aggression towards North Korea. Hey, I mean, and this, is this really the right thing to do right off the bat? I mean, what about the stuff we got going on here? Why don't you take care of what's going on here? Maybe we'll get to it with Mars and Taurus. I hope we get to it with Mars. I hope we get to Mars and Taurus. I'm serious. Because this Mars in Aries conjunct Uranus in Aries and the square to Pluto and the opposite to Jupiter, that's a big fat T square. Big fat T square. This is not a great time. It is not a great time to be summoning these aggressive. Whatever happened to peace? Whatever happened to peace? I think part of the you've got all these guys, got all these generals inside of Trump's administration, and they've all got their axe to pick. Whatever happened to peace? Whatever happened to what if Trump? This is really what Trump should say. But the more that Trump is great for disturbance. He's great for mixing things up. He's great for breaking rules. He broke the chain of command to the Bushes and the Clintons, and I think most of us should be grateful. Even the most staunch liberals, columnists. What's his name? The guy from the New York Times has even thanked Trump. The longtime New York Times columnist. He's even thanked Trump for keeping the Clintons and the Bushes out of the White House. How about that? But if I were Trump, my thing would be, right now we're in a country that has been divided, very difficult, challenging, explosive election cycle. And I'm going to take some time to focus on what's happening in this country. I'm going to let my generals study what's happening geopolitically. Our goal is to defeat ISIS, Daesh, whatever. That's part of our goal. Our goal is to make our home, this country, more secure. And we're gonna get jobs. We're gonna turn this thing around. My first 100 days are gonna be really focused on the people of the United States. And let those other people over there kind of, figure out what the hell is going on here. I wouldn't say anything. That's just me. And then once I got some momentum here, now you start to look around. Okay, China. But maybe they've got a strategy that I can't even fathom. Maybe it's just so advanced and way beyond me. Maybe the modeling that they're using and the psychographics are so far beyond anything I can comprehend. All I know is that astrologically, with Mars and Aries, and this upcoming Uranus conjunction, we're less safe than we were the last time Mars and Aries came around. Because of the climate, the political, the socio-political climate. And let's throw Venus into the mix. Venus and Mars will not get any closer than I think around 6 degrees this whole time. So we're really looking at probably the majority of or the closest that the two of them will get. I want to go here. Let me just go into this part here. Let me go. Hold on. I want to go into the ephemeris. Because we got into this last week, and let's just go down this rabbit hole now. One more time. Well, I wasn't here last week, but 2 weeks ago, the last time we did this in the stream. So we're looking at February. And so let's see, we've got today, the 5th, so we got 5-1, 6-1, 7-2, 8-3, 8-3, 9-4, 10-5, 10-5, 11-6, 12-7. So no more than 5 degrees. That's a pretty close orb, to be honest with you. So Venus and Mars, they're tracking. They're tracking right now. This is kind of a pretty intense alignment. And then you throw in Uranus, which doesn't get Venus goes retrograde. And it goes retrograde in March at 13 degrees. And Mars is at 25 degrees. So we got 12. So Mars really outpaces Venus. Venus slows down, right? Goes, oh, got to go retrograde. Better slow down. I gotta go backwards. So I gotta Mars gonna move. And that's why, right? Because Venus is literally slowing down as it goes into this retrograde pattern, which is why they move further apart. And this time, the big time really is right at the end of the month. Right at the end of the month, because Venus goes retrograde on the 4th. So it stations on the 2nd. That's a very intense station. And we have the moon, which is new on the, it's just after new, it's on the 1st. So we've got, on the 1st, we've got moon in Aries. Moon in Aries, so I want to make sure we get the newness part here. Yeah, moon in Aries, new, just after the new moon, one day, like uh, 2 days after the new moon. Still considered, be that really, really thin crescent moon. So it's still pretty new. And then we've got the Venus station a day later, Mars in Aries, 23, Uranus at 22. Wow. Now Pluto really catches up to the game, 19 degrees. And so Pluto at 19 is about as well. Mars is in Taurus then. So Pluto at 18, Mars at 21, and or 22, and Uranus at 22. Then of course Jupiter's at 22. So really tight T-square. I just look at that time, and I get concerned. I'm concerned. I mean, that is like, to me, this energy feels brink of war. Brink of war. Maybe the Venus retrograde brings us back from the brink of war. I don't know. Or maybe the retrograde, the Venus and Mars together might have been this kind of, energy that balances, balancing energy. But Venus retrograde, man, that's intense. It's intense. It can either mean we back away from war, it's a retreat, or whatever it is that we're trying to be diplomatic with, i.e., Venus, that the efforts are not as direct as they could be. Let's put it that way. So we talked about this. Last time we were on the live stream. Circle the final weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The final weekend of February and the first day of March. These are very powerful, very intense times, and it's not just abroad. Remember, we have a lot of unrest in this country. We've got more unrest in this country than I think we've had since the 1960s, and I think the unrest is more violent than it was in the 60s. In the 60s, you had, you had the Weather Underground, and you had the Yippies and the Panthers. And they were radical, and the groups were, remember, the 60s. They're coming out of the civil rights era, and we shall overcome. This is not that era, and these are not those people. So the period that we're living in is way more intense. So even the mass protests are far more violent than the mass protests of the 1960s. Far more violent. I don't know. I'm not hopeful. I'm being really honest with you about this period, and I hope I'm completely and utterly wrong. I really do, because there's too much happening now. There's so much aggression that's coming out all across the board, that when we enter into a phase like this, where a Mars, I'll tell you what could happen with a Mars-Uranus conjunction. I was thinking about this. I was thinking cyber attack. It may not even be a physical attack. It could be a cyber attack with a Mars-Uranus conjunction, Uranus running the internet. Right? It could be something along the lines of somebody getting in and just completely jamming, the computers of some country. Is it the United States? Is it Iran? Remember when they had the Stuxnet virus? Remember that? I went to Iran. All right, let's go back to the planets, the planetas. Jupiter, of course, is in Libra, and it is ready to go retrograde. First planet of the year to go retrograde. That is Jupiter, and that's happening this week. It's happening tomorrow. How about that? Jupiter going retrograde tomorrow in Libra. Well, I tell you, Jupiter in Libra has not been helpful for peace. I'll tell you, it has not been helpful for peace at all. Maybe the retrograde will be better. When are people going to start to talk about peace? You know, everybody on the, not everybody, but a lot of people on the left just want to get over it. They're pissed, they're angry. You know, they're setting the dogs loose. They're turning the dogs loose. You know, the right is being vindicated and justified. Look at these people, look at these people, look at these people. You know, and Trump isn't helping matters much with ham-fisted travel bans. I still don't know why he didn't ban Saudi Arabia. That's ridiculous. And here we are, we're fighting in Yemen. Guess who started the Yemeni fight? Oh yeah, it's the Saudis. Ugh. But Jupiter in Libra has not been expansive towards peace. I'm really trying to feel Jupiter in Libra. I'm trying to feel it. I mean, I've had a little bit of Jupiter and Libra love in my chart. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I've had a pretty good start to the year, at least till the end of the year. Beginning of the year, I got sick, but I'm waiting for this Jupiter and Libra to kick in. You know, what we've had, and maybe it's because of the opposition to Uranus, but what we've had is you know, instead of balance, we've had more divisiveness between the sexes, at least on the female side, than in quite some time. Somebody sent me a little message on my Facebook page for I guess it wasn't me, it was some sort of, sometimes you get messages sent to you from people on Facebook, and they don't go through your message thing. They just go to some other weird folder. Has ever happened to you? Some anonymous person I could not respond to told me, said, rape is not an adjective. Great. Rape is not an adjective. But thank you for that. I appreciate that. By the way, I've lost a few people since Trump got elected. You know, one of the things I wanted to talk about, we're going to get into this a little bit more, so the astrology more. We're going to get into these, and this will be a good segue, I think, to the Trump chart. One of the best things, and I will stand by this. One of the best things that's been a result of the Trump presidency is the fact that we finally were able to take a crowbar to political correctness. And we were finally able to crack open the ice shelf, the frozen tundra of free speech. Now, there are people out there who don't believe that. There are people out there who don't see it the same way I do. The other thing that I think has been really important with the Trump election is the fact that it's been much easier to see the left in stark contrast than ever before. Much easier. Because before, the left was making policy. Before, the left was in the White House. And the rest of the country was in a semblance of conformity, whether you liked it or not. But now, since this is cranked up, it's much easier to see what's been behind this facade in a lot of ways. And not only from the real lack of the exchange of liberal ideas and honoring the same values of free speech that theoretically the right or the alt-right or the paleo-conservatives would. It's been mind-blowing. It's been absolutely mind-blowing to watch the conditioning take place. And then to see 50 years worth of policy and indoctrination become manifest in the disenfranchised ruling class or ruling party. It's fascinating to watch. And it's important to watch. You know, I was watching the other day, there's this great video of this FedEx guy. And he's in, I think, Ames, Iowa, or Iowa City, one of those two places. And there are these social justice warriors, and they're burning an American flag. It's cold, they're wearing their this and that, you know. And he sees them burning the flag, and he runs out of his FedEx truck, and he takes a fire extinguisher to them in the flag. And they're shocked. These people are shocked. And then he grabs the flag from them. And there's 10 of them and one of him, and all 10 of them wanted no part of him. Think about that. The reason I bring it up is because there is some value, I believe, in reclaiming pride in one's national identity. It has nothing to do with being white or black, or Mexican or Asian. That we have lost touch, and I think a lot of countries have, except for China or Russia. They haven't lost touch with their pride, and not everybody in those countries probably agrees with their government either. But they are interwoven into a collective mindset that we would define as nationalism. And for the last 50 years, we've been told to divest of our national identity and to embrace and adopt a global identity, a diverse identity. Nothing wrong with diversity. As long as diversity, I think, takes second place to some greater kind of organizing principle. I mean, I spent most of my life feeling kind of embarrassed about being an American, to be honest with you. And it all started with Watergate. And it's like, now it's like, well, maybe it's time to rethink that. Now, I'm certainly not going to join in and bang the war drum, which I think is ridiculous. You know, I'm not going to just say every single executive order decision that Trump makes, I'm not going to sit there and plot and go, no, because I'm an American. You see, we can agree and we can disagree. This is one of the beautiful things. So maybe the Jupiter-Uranus opposition had to do with the split in parties and ideologies. Maybe that's what it was about. That's what I'm thinking. But I haven't seen the peace part. If anything, I've seen more contrast in extremis. All right, what else we got going on here? Let's look at a few more planets. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? Why don't we get into the Trump-Israel chart? Because we know where all the other planets are, Saturn, all those other bad boys. Let's get into the Trump-Israel chart. Let's get into the meat. The meat. So we got Lady Gaga. By the way, did everybody see Lady Gaga's performance today? Boy, it's about as white bread as it gets. Right? Hold on, let me find out these charts. Although, again, they did have a couple of obelisks there, right? Looked like something out of Burning Man. They were on fire. You know, those two obelisks, those two pillars you see, they always represent Boaz and Jacob. Boaz and Jacob. Okay. And there was an upside down star, it was a pentagram, and it was on the left side of the stage. So that was headed down into the earth. And on the other side, you had a star that was headed up. So again, you had this Masculine, feminine. On the feminine side, pentagram going to hell. Masculine side, star going to heaven. That was on the stage. Other than that, extremely wholesome, wonderful, great career pivot, Lady Gaga. Good job. The National Football League likes you. America might buy more of your records. She's smart. Girl's smart. Let's see. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. So if you're playing at home and you have the Trump-Israel chart, we're going to look at that now. My, oh my, oh my. Okay, so when we look at the Israeli chart, we have that sun in Taurus, and the Israeli sun is conjunct Donald Trump's midheaven. It does not get much more connected than that. Their sun is on his midheaven. Interesting, am I right? Say yes. Yes, it is interesting. They've got true node in Taurus, puts it in Trump's 9th house, foreign involvements. They have Mercury in Gemini. And what do we have? We've got Trump, true node, Uranus, Mercury. And for Trump, his Sun, Uranus, and true node are all on Israel's 9th house cusp. So again, overseas connections. Now, the one thing here that I think is a bit tricky is that this Uranus conjunction and his Sun conjunct their Uranus, it could, you're getting into like multiple levels of switching and flipping. But that sun, Israel's sun, hidden, secretive, tucked away, of course, in tough Taurus, 8th house, right on Trump's midheaven. Does not get much more connected than that. Okay, we've got a Venus-Mercury conjunction. Trump's Mercury is in Cancer, and Israel's Mercury is, Venus is at 4 Cancer. 4 Cancer. And Trump's Mercury is at 6 Cancer. So we have a Venus-Mercury conjunction in Cancer. It is hard to break up with a Venus-Mercury conjunction in Cancer. Look at this. Trump's Venus and Saturn, guess what? Conjunct Israel's midheaven. That is a long-standing karmic relationship. His Saturn, Venus on Israel's midheaven, their sun on his midheaven. Hello. Can you see the connection? Their sun, Israel's sun sextile, his Venus, his Saturn. Trump has Mars in Leo, and guess what? They've got Mars in Leo. That's right. 26 to 28. Conjunct Mars. Oh my God. This is totally, they're tied at the hip, I'm telling you. They're tied at the hip. It goes beyond. It goes beyond. Here's what I think. I think it goes beyond any kind of either favor or payback that Trump may have for being bailed out for $4 billion worth of debt. Like if somebody came to me and said, well, this is I'm really interested in this person. I go, wow, this is a really interesting chart. You're both on each other's midheavens like this? Oh my God. Yeah, I think you should check this relationship out. It's kind of faded. It's in the stars. This is amazing. And by the way, I have not looked up this chart before tonight. Nope. And then check this out. Trump's Jupiter is just 3 degrees or 2 degrees. So the ascendant Israel's ascendant. There's a couple of different charts for Israel, but Israel's ascendant is at 22 Libra, and Trump's Jupiter is at 17. So conjunct 5 degrees off. Still conjunct. How about that? Major. Oh, you want more? You want more? Israel's Jupiter is at 27 degrees conjunct the galactic center. Do you think they chose that day? I think they chose that day. I think they chose that day. I think they chose that time. Conjunct the galactic center, 27 degrees. And what does Jupiter do? It trines. In their chart, trines Venus. It trines Saturn, Pluto conjunction, and it trines Mars. It's a powerful Jupiter. Anyway, Trump's moon is where? 21 degrees. So we have a moon-Jupiter conjunction. Man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's more that I can say here. And what's really interesting too is, let's see, there's the moon here. Yeah, that's Trump's full moon with Jupiter on that full moon. Fascinating stuff. Really fascinating. Yeah. These Israel and Trump are two peas in a pod. They are two peas in a pod. So when he says all those things about how great Israel is, I don't think he's bullshitting. I mean, this chart is so connected. And even the aspects that are a little tricky, I mean, so there's Venus square Neptune. Well, Israel has a Venus-Neptune square anyway. Right, so Trump's Mercury. The only thing here is maybe the Trump's Mercury square Israel's Neptune, but his Mercury squares his own Neptune. Maybe that cancels each other. Maybe it cancels both of them out. Sun Mars square. Two proud Mars in Aries, and their Mars is conjunct his ascendant. Man, their Mars is exact. Well, Trump is 29 Leo, and their Mars is at 28 Leo. Hello. Actually, I think, hold on a second. Let me make sure. Yeah, it's 28 Leo. Anyway, I guess what I'm sharing with you here is that in terms of synastриc compatibility, it doesn't get much more close than this. Now, if you look at where Israel's planets are, they're placed in an interesting position. So their Saturn, their Pluto, their Moon, all in Trump's 12th house. So it's a Saturn-Pluto conjunction, all hidden, deeply hidden inside of his 12th house. Everything else, 11th house, the midheaven, fascinating stuff. Absolutely fascinating. Oh, I take that back. Yeah, so that's in Trump's house. Yeah, 12th house. Wow, interesting chart. To me, it's clear that there is a very, very deep bond and very connected. Again, all you have to do is look at that Sun on Trump's midheaven, Venus Saturn is Trump's Venus Saturn on Israel's midheaven, the Venus Mercury conjunction, and Jupiter Moon conjunction, Jupiter on the ascendant. It's a big one. Bigly. That was bigly. Why don't we move into the, let's get into the lunar eclipse, and then we'll round this thing off tonight with Lady Gaga's charts. So the lunar eclipse is this week. As we said, it's on, there it is. We said it's on Saturday morning, 12:43. 12:43. So we have the moon on the midheaven true node right there, of course, because this is when we have these eclipses. The true node's going into Leo here shortly. The sun is in Aquarius. So anytime you get the full moon with the true node in conjunction with the full moon, it is lunar eclipse territory. Now, in the summertime, on August 21st, we'll have the south node on the sun, and that will be the solar eclipse because it'll be a new moon, right? Pretty sure. What do we say about this? Well, we've got a grand trine. So moon trine Saturn, moon trine Uranus, fire. The ascendant is Scorpio. Mercury, Sun, third house. Let's see. We've got Neptune, Chiron. We have a mystic rectangle. You know, I am not going to predict any doom and gloom for this lunar eclipse. I actually think there's some. Look, we can't get out. I mean, we've got the T square, right? We've got Uranus, 21, but Mars isn't quite there yet. Opposite Jupiter, squaring off against Pluto. But there's a lot of other aspects here. You know, we've got the kite pattern, we've got the mystic rectangle, we've got actually almost two kite patterns. We've got one kite pattern coming off this part of the triangle. We've got another kite pattern coming off the bottom part of the triangle. That's really fascinating. Sun Uranus sextile. I think the toughest energies are going to be in relationship with that Venus Pluto square. It's actually Mars Pluto, but Venus is kind of right there piggybacking on Mars. There's a bit of an obsessive energy that night. It feels like relationships come into a almost life and death situation during this eclipse. It feels there's a sense that everything can be completely blown up in the relationship sphere. However, this is over the course of the eclipse energy. We were talking maybe a couple days before the eclipse, a couple days after the eclipse. I think there's going to be major shakeups in relationships during this eclipse time frame. Because one of the things we're talking about is like the moon in Leo, right? And what does Leo rule? It's the heart. It's the heart. So moon in Leo I think it's a nice place for the moon. People in moon in Leo tend to be warm and fun and creative. And generally, connecting with kids with moon in Leo. It's a kind of a playful moon. It's a moon that has a lot of life force associated with it. Really, people Leo moons tend to have warm personalities, really warm personalities. So this whole notion of the heart and what the heart wants is, right at the top of the chart. But it's also eclipse. Now it's a penumbral eclipse, not a full eclipse, which would be, I think, quite different. So the penumbral eclipse will get shades of it, which means that you may want to kind of explore really what the where the light and the dark resides in your heart and in the heart of or the shared heart, the heart that you share with another person. Perhaps there might be some insight into the emotional body during this time. Now, there's also this sense of the trine with Saturn, the trine with Uranus. So there's new energy and then there's old energy. Saturn and Uranus represent the old and the new, right? And the moon is the arbiter. And the opposition with the sun, which is actually in sextile with Uranus and Saturn, creates a more impersonal kind of space. So it's interesting because on the one hand, there's a great deal of intensity with the Venus-Mars conjunction square Pluto. On the other hand, there is this sun energy, this sun piece in Aquarius, which is more detached and actually working with both Uranus and Saturn to kind of be this emotional arbiter in a lot of ways. You can step back. So what's really going on? So there's options here. You don't have to go into DEFCON 6. You just don't. Interesting eclipse. Very interesting eclipse. The ascendant's in Scorpio. That's intensity. You're not going to be able to avoid the intensity. Let's put it that way. By and large, I think it's benevolent, but I do think that people are going to have to check their hearts, check their emotions, and go through some volcanism in relationships over this eclipse. That's my take. Other than that, I don't see anything incredibly disastrous. We're dealing with extremely high levels of radiation from Fukushima still. Extremely high. God, we've been so lied to about that. It's ridiculous. Okay, let's get into the Gaga charts. Let's check them out. I don't want to be too slumpy here. I'm sorry. I'm getting too relaxed, too comfortable. It's late at night. It's 11:29. Processing a lot of personal information. Okay, so the Gaga chart that I'm looking at right now has the Gemini rising. There's the other with the Capricorn rising. And the reason I brought it up was because I wanted to see what was going on there, because she's doing this pivot. And she has Venus at 24, so she's got Uranus right on her Venus. And she has her natal Uranus at 22, Sagittarius. I've heard that she actually has to sleep at night with somebody in her room because of the demons that keep her awake. I've heard this. I've also heard that she can't look at herself in the mirror. These people that do these deals with the Baphomet and Lucifer, Satan, they can't look at themselves in the mirror. Because when they do, their faces are all grotesque and they look old and horrific. And, it's like, it's not a good representation. So a lot of these places don't have any mirrors inside their house. They never see themselves. Isn't that interesting? The mirror is a portal to the soul. So something's going on with her. She's got that Mars-Neptune conjunction. She's got Mars at, is it 0? Yeah, it's at 0 Capricorn. And Neptune at 6. It's quite imaginative, that Mars-Neptune conjunction. It's a nice orb, that 6-degree orb. It's manageable. Remember, this is the Gemini rising chart. Now, the Capricorn rising chart, those planets would be, I don't think they're in her, just see her, I don't think they're in her first house. They might be in her 12th house. See if I can find this. Hold on. Just head up here. This one, I think this is it. Is it? No. This one. Yes. Yeah, so the Capricorn rising chart, Neptune and Mars are in the 12th house. That might actually be appropriate. I can see that. And she's got Moon Pluto on the midheaven. I think this is her chart. I think Moon Pluto in the midheaven, and she's got the Venus true node down in her 3rd house. Jupiter Mercury conjunction. She's totally rich, right? Jupiter in the 2nd house. I think this is her chart. Yeah, I think this is her chart. Capricorn rising. She kind of looks like a Capricorn. She doesn't have the sprightly kind of, like, if you look at Lady Gaga, her face is not symmetrical. You know, if she's a Gemini rising, her face would be symmetrical, but her face is kind of like a little off. Like one side is higher than the other. That would be kind of a Capricornian thing. And didn't she like have like knee surgery or something like that? Like, didn't she injure her knee? Couldn't go on tour. That's a very Capricorn rising piece. I think this is her chart. But really, what I was trying to look for is the pivot. It's the pivot, and it's Uranus on her Venus. So she's changing relationships. And she's going through her Saturn return. That's the other piece. That one is pretty. She's gone through her Saturn return. Interesting. And now Saturn's on her Uranus. So 22. So that's mainstream, right? That's the mainstream hitting the experimental. If that's the case, and she's going to have Saturn going into her 12th house soon. That's interesting. I wonder if she'll take a hiatus or something with Saturn going through her 12th house. Could be intense, especially with Saturn on her Mars in the 12th house. Wow. Anyway, she did her best to be America's girl, but I think it's that Moon Pluto chart with Capricorn rising, and I think the Saturn return and Uranus on her Venus is causing this pivot, because in the chart, Venus is trining Mars in her chart and trining Uranus, so she's having, and the perception of her is changing. Interesting. Very interesting. So that's Lady Gaga's chart. I think it's her Saturn return and Uranus on her Venus that is flipping her wig. Now in the other chart, it's Pisces on the midheaven with Jupiter there. I don't know. I think Moon Pluto conjunction on the midheaven is much more Gaga, and even the Capricorn rising, the face that's kind of off a little bit. Where are we? Where did we go? Let me get back into the live stream here. Let's see. Coming back to the live stream. Hello, live stream. Where are you? Where am I? Pretty sure that I'm still streaming. I don't know what happened to the home page here. Let me go into YouTube and just see if I can track somebody down. Yep, there I am. I'm live right now. I am live. Let me get into it. Let me see if there's anybody hanging out, watching the show. Comments. So we got some comments going on. It's taking a long time for the stream to load. Let's see. Come on. Yep, here I am. And we're loaded in. And is there nobody watching? Oh, here we go, live chat. Let's see. That's okay. MJ got cat because he was freshman year. That's good. Not a lot of people. Oh well. Maybe it's because people don't think, there's 40 watching. Okay. Comments. Some comments going on. 42 people. One of these days, it'll be 60 people, maybe 100 people. Yeah. People losing friends. That's the way it goes. I just saw your comment, Christine. Well, why don't we wrap this bad boy up? I want to thank all 42 of you for viewing and listening. My goal, hey, listen, if you like this, subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my channel. I'd love to connect with more people. Meet more people. All right, listen, have a great week. And enjoy your life. Try to bring some light and positivity and love to the world around you, because God knows we need as much as we can get. But stay strong and discern. I can hear myself. Have a great week. Thank you for joining me on the live stream. This is Robert Phoenix.